second that.
Roll call.
Jukebox.
Kayla Carr. Pledge of Allegiance.
Need to make the note for minutes that Richard is on the recording.
Richard Knowles, the board member, is present. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Here, I have a few. Okay, first item is approval of minutes for April 20th, 2021 regular session meeting. Since I'm the acting chair, I wouldn't be doing motion, right?
It's not suggested.
Okay.
I provide a motion to approve the minutes.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Yeah, please. Okay, next item is the reports and correspondence. Chief Cunningham?
Fire district properties, we'll talk about this a little bit more later in the board meeting. It's about the property on Adams Street. It's a third piece of property that I'm not sure how many people in the community or in the board knew that we had. And we had the DVD for the camera systems and the power supply is going to have to be replaced. The power supply was too much for the DVD. I don't know how long we've actually had that camera system out here, but it's finally gone bad. Apparently the power supply was too much for that DVD, so we're in the process of getting the right setup. The surplus on the boats, the auction is going on. It ends tomorrow. Right now, the current bids are up to $2,025 for one of the boats and $3,250 for the other one, for a total of $5,275. These boats were put on public auction last week. They were started at like $500 and $600 respectively. And I got a call from the Mojave County Library. They said that they were going to start up their mobile unit out here. I believe they're going to be out here this Friday, Thursday on May 20th. So I just wanted to share that. And I also wanted to let everyone know that we just got access to our image trend in our firehouse. The chiefs did, so we can give updated reports on run calls like you guys are used to have been in the past. So we'll start doing that next month. That's all I have.
Okay. Next item, 6A, approval of April 2021 financial reports.
The revenue for the month of April was $43,091.54. The expenses were $19,743.32 for a profit of $23,348.22. Cash on hand in the warrant account at Wells Fargo is $121,936.88. The payroll account at National Bank of Arizona is $2,903.07 and $96 in petty cash. Total cash on hand is $124,935.95. That's all.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I get put forward a motion to approve those minutes, or those,
Financial.
incomes,
Financial
So-
reports.
Financial reports.
financial report.
I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Next item, 6B, discussion and possible action regarding approval of tentative budget for fiscal year 2021 and 2022.
I'm gonna let Mindy explain the working budget, which is the first one that you guys have. This one?
Yeah, before he gets into the budget that we're presenting today, I wanted the board to know kind of how we work the budget. The first column here is the budget as it stands for this year. Then we do a column, what the numbers will be for the next year, and we'll show you the increase or decrease for each account. So you can see how your income is fluctuating from year to year. The main thing we usually don't share this with our board, this is our working document. But what I wanted to show you is if you go to the last page, you see that your budget was out of balance by $77,431. So the reason for that is, back to page 1, you'll see you have your carryover contingency, your reserve account, and your retirement and pension. And that is money that should be carried over, that should show in the income, and it should show in the expenses. If you go to your expenses, it's not there. So essentially what they were doing is spending your bank account, whoever wrote this budget. The other error on this budget is you have grants on your income. Any money that comes in on grants, you have to have an expense account for those grants going out, because those are earmarked money for those items. So that money cannot be spent. So essentially, those two items need to have a in and an out, a debit and a credit to balance. That's why you're $77,000 out of balance on your budget. So if this had been spent completely the way the expenses are, you would have no money left in the bank account if this budget was followed. So I just wanted you to understand that. You'll see on the budget that the chief's going to present, you'll see where the contingency, capital and contingency, is at the income and at the expenses. But also the grants too.
Did everybody, do we have enough to pass out?
There's
Yeah,
Copies
there's
up there,
there.
if anybody wants one to follow along, if you're interested.
Here's some here too.
Everyone, Terry?
Me too, Terry, please.
Just take them and pass them out.
So, the budget that we're gonna be looking at, you're gonna wanna pay attention to the first column, the 2021, 2022. We have to two budgets at a time. We have to project for the future budget, so that's gonna be the second column. And of course, that's subject to change, but by law, we have to do that. So the one you're gonna wanna pay attention to is the first column of numbers, as the one we're gonna go over. So our income increased fortunately by almost 10 grand. So that's our tax, property tax current. And I'm going to kind of go through here and hit, you know, the totals, and then kind of go back if there's any questions or anybody has any, because there's really not a lot of change. I mean, it's a pretty simple budget to do because there's just not a lot of money to spend. So a lot of the numbers that are in here are stuff that was either carried over or reduced from your guys' budget last year. The property taxes current, the property taxes prior, and the FDAT are numbers that we get from the county. The interest earnings, the donations is one of the things that I don't believe that you guys had. I think it was called something else. But I don't think there was anything in that particular one either. The other thing that we're going to do, this is going to look a little bit different next year. It's much different than what I'm used to seeing. So some of the stuff that's in here that you guys were used to seeing is going to be different coming up in the next budget. So I think it'll be a little bit easier for everybody to understand and follow along, including how the number sequences are. But donations we put in there, and I think there was a couple different, they had utility donations before and miscellaneous / donations in the past. We just put those under one thing, and we call it donations / miscellaneous, so it's kind of a catch-all for that. The out-of-district EMS services, those are for calls that we run outside the district, whether it be you know, the highway calls, or we happen to be called somewhere else that's not in the district, and we have to bill for that. And then the rents and then the burn permits are in the last line. So your total revenue is $241,052. In the way, and then as Mindy explained, the capital contingency is the next group of numbers. Those are the numbers. The contingency fund is the fund that we use in case something happens unexpectedly. We blow an engine on an engine, or a vehicle or something happens to the building and we need major repair. That's where that money comes from. The capital fund is what we want to see built up so that we can purchase new things, big ticket items like fire trucks, and maybe build new buildings and things like that. These are extremely low. We would like to see those built up, and that's our goal. As long as we're here, we're going to try to increase that the best we can, but still provide enough money throughout the rest of the budget to provide some service to the community. And as Mindy said, what's in this, you'll see at the end. It comes back out as kind of a wash. The grants are the same. That grant money that is in there. It's the only thing that we have to do with the grant money. We put a dollar amount in there. However, if it's an AFG grant, the AFG is a 5% grant, matching grant. So I have to budget for that elsewhere in the budget, depending on what I'm thinking about getting. In this example, it would be for air packs. Can't get a whole lot of air packs for $25,000, but we could probably get 5 to 7, depending on the air packs that we get. From what I understand, the air packs that they have here are borrowed air packs, or not borrowed, but they were donated air packs from Lake Havasu City. So we would like to replace those. And so that's what the $25,000 is for. We'll shoot for that grant this year. So the next line, so your grant total is $25,000, so your total grant and fund balance, or total revenue and fund balance is $391,052. You can't spend, like Mindy said, you can't spend the grant money, you can't spend the capital and contingency. That can only be spent with board approval. So really, the money that we have to spend is the $241,052. And keep in mind, that $191,000 is what's reported that we were supposed to get if we were to receive 100% of our revenue. That never happens. I'm not sure what the history here is as far as what you guys collect. but we'll find out. We like to base our budgets on a 3-year average. However, you know, that's not the way we're doing it here because we don't have a 3-year average. So moving forward, we'll be using these numbers to make future budgets. Moving on to wages and benefits. We're hoping to bring on some more part-time people. We only have one full-time person right now. That wage is based on him, plus adding 30 additional days annually. The payout for the vacation is mandatory. If the full-time guy leaves, we have to pay him out his vacation, so that's what that money is set aside for. The overtime, we put some overtime in there in case.
That's the built-in.
Oh, this one's the built-in?
We have no overtime besides the way.
Right. I thought we put a little extra in there for him.
No.
You didn't? Okay. All right. So then that 2775 is the built-in? Okay. All right. And then the rest of it is the employer, the Social Security, the Medicare, all that stuff is based on that overall wage, the suppression and EMS. So our total wage and benefits are $115,325.18. Additional, or the total administration, again, we do have some, this department has been part of Arizona Fire Chiefs, AFTA. Those things cost money. Those are the membership dues for that. Office supplies, I believe that was cut down from what we had in the past.
Yeah, we bring that down from 1,500.
Yeah, from 1,500.
We'll
So
probably bring it down again next year, once we start seeing how we're tracking.
all of that stuff, I believe, was brought down quite a bit. It looks like your total administration last year was over $31,000 as compared to $4,050 this budget year. The next section is the professional services, the facilities, equipment coverage, insurance, the legal fees. I believe that's what you guys had in there. So we left it at 10,000 because we're not sure exactly where that goes. And that's about what we used to for a general rule of thumb is $10,000 in that legal fee line
We
item.
bring it down to 2,000.
So it was at 12.
It was at 12.
So the consulting and management, that is us, Golden Valley's fee, so that's gone up just a little bit. And the accounting fees,
ADP,
yeah.
that's ADP,
Which one?
accounting.
Yeah. The annual audit, the elections, there's no elections this year, so you guys don't have anything coming out there. Computer repairs, we have done some computer updates on the computers that are here. However, some of them are pretty old and are probably going to have to be replaced. So some of that's for that. Communications and dispatch, that's just what we pay Sandy Communications. And then the firehouse software, that's just, we left that in the budget. We're looking at replacing, possibly getting rid of Firehouse. They sounds like they're going to be going away soon, so we're going to stick with Image Trend, which is how these guys send their reports to the hospital. That is the software that the hospital uses. So prior to Image Trend, everybody pretty much used Firehouse, including Golden Valley. But when the hospital switched over to Image Trend, everybody had to follow suit in order for us to do our hospital reporting. So it was no different with Yucca Fire. They also switched over. However, they're only using Image Trend for medical reports. In the future, it will be set up so that they do all their reporting on Image Trend. The next section is the utilities. Pretty much, we brought some of that stuff down too. We'll talk about the utilities a little bit more later, but I think everything else is in here is pretty much stayed the same. Looks like, yeah. So the next section is the operations section. Building maintenance. There's a few things that we want to fix on the building to update. Some of it is adding some doors and stuff. Nothing real major, obviously, for $1,500. Just some small things. Fire apparatus maintenance. That's one thing that when we came out here, we found out the mechanic that's used out here is the same mechanic that we use, or at least he's been out here before. And some of the stuff hadn't had serviced in quite some time. So we beefed that up a little bit just so that we can start doing some regular maintenance on the apparatus that we do have out here. SCBA maintenance, again, we have some older SCBAs that are going to require a little bit of maintenance. The SCBAs that they actually have, they stopped making parts for, so whatever parts are left over that we can get our hands on is what we have. So hopefully those will last us, but we have to put something in there for maintenance. Apparatus tools, again, not a lot, just not a lot of room in the budget to add anything. I believe these guys have quite a bit of stuff right now. Garage tools, those are just the basic tools for the bays. Tires, no major things on the tires. This is put in there primarily for the brush rig. Lights and sirens, I think most of that stuff is been reduced or stayed the same. So no.
Got down a lot,
Yeah, it's
40,000 to 24,000.
so we've cut that whole section basically in half from what it was. So and again, you know, you can only do so much with $190,000. So the next section is just the fuel, gasoline. Obviously, not that much. We don't have any gasoline vehicles except for the expense of my vehicle. And then diesel, we brought that down from what it was. We're hoping once this Pride truck stop goes in next door or across the street, we'll be able to utilize them and save some money from having the tank out here. It's not a lot to have that over there, but it is an expense of, I think, $50 a month. And plus they charge us to deliver the fuel, which just kind of adds. We lose what we'd be making, probably get it cheaper if we were just to go across the street. So that's the plan, to get rid of that once that truck stop opens up. And then just a couple $100 for the gasoline for the pumps on the engines and the tools in the compartments. The next section is for PPEs and the uniforms. Nothing major there. The guys, what we budget for as far as uniforms go are primarily just the shirts, so that people know that they're with the Yucca Fire Department. We will see what we can do about maybe adding to that, because I don't know what these guys have for winter type stuff, jackets. I don't know what these guys have. It doesn't sound like they have too much, but we'll see what we can do about getting these guys some jackets for the winter time. The protective clothing repair is just rips and stuff that we have to possibly send out to get fixed by a professional person. We just,
Sorry.
Make a note.
we're going.
Bridget Knowles,
Okay.
at 4:28.
We're just about done with it, Richard, but, we can surely look it over and ask any questions you might have. The next part after the uniforms, is the capital projects. This is where that SCBA, that 5% that I told you about that we would have to match, that's where that's at, under SCBA equipment. That would have to come out of there. Then the capital and contingency that Mindy was talking about, and the, that's the money again, it was put in at the top, it comes out at the bottom. The grant's the same thing, the 25,000 underneath that. Those are just a wash, they're not actually part of the money that we plan on spending out of our actual budget line items. But, so you got a total of both. You've got it without the grants, the capital contingency, and then you have it with. And that wraps up the budget.
Then I'll make a motion to approve
We
that.
need to go to discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
He takes over the meeting.
Actually, she started it, but she'd rather finish.
No, that's, you're the chair.
I can't?
No.
Okay, well, I think that's silly, considering I just walked in the middle of it, and I don't know what else is going on, but, you know, that's what you always do. Where's our agenda? You got an agenda here, so I can
Yes,
see where we're at on the
they're in your
agenda.
file, or if not, there's some there.
This one? Okay, discussions on the budget.
I have a question with the salary, wages, and benefits. The fire chief and the firefighter EMS base is still zero. Is that just because it's still in the works? We're not budgeting for fire chief?
The fire chief is, that's part of the contract that's involved in
Okay.
that, so.
When does our fiscal year end, in July? June. So the 2022 is good, this is coming up. 21, 22
That's correct.
is going
So
to begin.
the one we just went over
Yeah.
is the first column. The second column is the one that we have to
Yeah.
do 2 years out.
Well, as I see it, at the end of it, we're in the black. Slightly. And you got total expenses that are the same as our expenditures, so it's a balance. Any other questions?
So this is just a tentative. We can always make.
Yeah, we have to post this for 20 days, and then we'll have the public hearing in June. The way we do it in Golden Valley is we do the 2 meetings back to back. We do the public hearing like 30 minutes before the regular meeting.
So the public will have input prior to us approving the budget.
Yeah, and it's 2 separate
Final
meetings.
approval of the budget. Right. Anything else?
Yep, I'm good.
That's you.
I make a motion to approve and adopt the tentative budget for fiscal year 2021 and 2022 as written.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, I believe we're probably, we'll roll with that. We're now letter C.
Yes.
Discussion and possible action regarding update to restitution paid by Matt Young. That's gonna be you, chief?
Yeah.
You have information for us, or?
To date, it's $2,200.
That's all he's paid?
That's what we've got. It comes in $50, $75.
Right. And as you know, I've reached out to our attorney to ask him to look into this for us. He's not making much more headway than we are. I called him and left him a message to call me back again, which he hasn't done. He had sent a letter to the county attorney asking what the situation was in their office as to how it should be handled. He didn't get an answer, so he was going to reach out to them again. He still hasn't got an answer as of 3 days ago when I talked to him. So I directed him to follow through and send him another letter. I mean, we're talking about a serious amount of money here. So at that point, you got any questions for it, Kayla, or?
No, I mean, if he's not paying, he's not paying, I don't see us, not much we can do.
Well, his restitution, or his probation is based on his restitution. If he doesn't pay, he could have his probation revoked, is what they should do. I mean, that's the whole deal. It's just a matter of getting the judicial system to follow through and enforce their order, because he's in contempt right now because he's not doing what he was ordered by the court to do.
So I've talked to the county attorney and his probation officer about his payments, or lack thereof. And basically, what his probation officer told me was, we can't make him pay. We encourage him to pay all the time, but they can't make him pay. And of course, this was during COVID, and he was having a hard time finding a job, and yada, yada, yada. So I also talked to the county attorney, and basically what he said was, because when I talked to his probation officer, I said, he has $40,000 to pay the fire department, and at this rate, he's never going to pay up. And she told me, we can only keep somebody on probation for 10 years. After that, we have to let him off, regardless of how much he's paid you, and then it becomes the fire department's problem, completely, as if it isn't already. But that's what she told me. So I talked to the county attorney, basically said the same thing, that there's nothing they can enforce. He doesn't agree with the way it is. To me, a court order should be a court order, but if the judge isn't, if they're not going to uphold it, he just says they kind of sometimes turn a blind eye to that type of thing. It's just, so at this point, our hands are really kind of tied. I mean, there's nothing we can force. He's only on probation. If he was to make the payments that he was supposed to make, it would be through his probation, and he would end it. Right. But at this rate, he'd be on probation for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So,
well, as I said, I haven't heard back from the attorney other than the last time I spoke with him, which was like 3 days ago, and he had not heard back from them. It sounds like maybe you've got more feedback from them than he has. Which,
well, I just called him direct and just asked him. He said there's nothing we can do. And like I said, he doesn't necessarily agree with the way it works, but it is, it is. He can't obviously do anything. I even said, well, it was me. Knowing that I couldn't make my payments, I'd probably want to maybe try to go back to the judge and ask him to reduce the fine so that I can make the payments and still, it might extend the probation, but I guess some people, they know the system, and like I said, if he doesn't pay, and the chances of, this fire department having the funds to go after him, is probably going to be, it may not happen. I mean, I can't know that for sure, but It would be tough to do.
Considering that we're virtually the victim in this, it seems ridiculous to me that the county is doing to us again what already happened. I mean, we're getting ripped off a second time, but it's just for the fact that they're not enforcing their own rule. I think it's crap. But, like you said, I told Whittington not to expend a huge amount of money on this, you know, not more than $400 or $500 total, absolutely, which I think that's a reasonable amount to try to get 40 grand. But at this point, he hasn't spent like $75, so we're not out of a lot. So, you got anything on this one? How about you?
That's before my time, I don't really know the issues.
Bring him up to speed quickly, it shouldn't take much.
Yeah, I mean,
He embezzled money or misappropriated funds, whatever you want to call it, from the fire department. He got caught, he admitted to it, he agreed to pay, what, $40,000 in restitution at $1,200 a month, wasn't it? In order to not go to jail, and now he's paid $2,200 in, what, a year and a half?
yeah.
And the court system doesn't seem to think that they are going to do anything for his stuff. So, in a nutshell, is where we're at.
Okay.
So, there'll be no action on this one. So we'll move on to D, discussion only regarding 1 acre property owned by Yucca Fire District outside the district boundaries. Who's got this one for us?
I'll take this. We got just a notice from the county that we had a piece of property that I did not know about, and I believe I talked to the chairman about it, and it didn't sound like he knew anything about it. This is for you guys. This is the property. I have some extras up here if you guys.
We discovered it 2 years ago.
Yeah. So my concern with this piece of property is, number one, it's outside, right outside the fire district, and I'm assuming Kayla just gave me some information, some documents that I'll go through, but it appears that this property was donated to the fire district, and like I said, the first concern is that it's outside the fire district. The second concern that I have is it looks to me like either there were squatters that lived on the property, or the landowner just left stuff on there and decided that it wasn't worth trying to sell. They just came down here and asked the fire department if they wanted to donate. If that's how, the transaction, it looks like the last sale of the property was in 2004. So I don't know that this fire district would have purchased property that long ago, back in 2004. It's only 1 acre. It was purchased for $5,500 back then. Maybe the paperwork that Kayla gave me would give some sort of an idea as when that transaction, or at least when Yucca Fire District actually took possession of the property. If I can't find that, I can always go to the county. But the concern is the liability of the stuff that's on the property. I mean, it's just a bunch of crap, to be honest with you. There's 2 RVs on there that are gutted. I've actually got pictures on my phone that I'd be happy to share with everybody in the room. It's a liability, and I wasn't sure where the board wanted to go with this. You can flip through the next 5 pictures. Once you get to the boat, that's the end of it. But I think it's something that we kind of probably should look at, decide what we want to do with it. It looks like the county's valuing this property, at least the cash value right now, or the land value, is at just under $10,000. So it's up to the board. I just wanted to bring it to your attention for discussion, and see what you might want to do with it.
probably, do we know if we legitimately own it without any liabilities against it? I mean, we would have to go to a title company and have them do a title search to make sure how we attained it, whether there's any encumbrances on it or such, because, you know, they could have liens possibly. Before we would decide that we was going to try to get rid of it, we're going to have to ascertain that we can without spending more money than it's worth to get rid of it.
Well, according to the county, and it now sounds like there's people in the room that's known about this property for a couple of years, so, you know, we just get the tax information or the tax card that, you know, says that, hey, you know, here's your property and this is the value of it. I would have thought if there was any, I mean, there could be liens against it.
Yeah, I mean,
There could be.
it could have been not properly transferred when it was transferred to the fire department. If it didn't go through title or such as that, if nobody checked, there could be a long lost error somewhere that has a hold on it somewhere. And I wouldn't want us to get in a situation that we put it up for sale and then find out that we don't have the ability to close the deal.
Well, I think the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure was that the fire district didn't have plans for this piece of property. I mean, it didn't sound like many people even knew about it, except for a few people in the room that were here then, during that time, but, a couple of years ago anyhow. I can look into it, and see if there's any reason why we could not try to sell it. I don't know what we're gonna really get for it with all that stuff on there.
Yeah.
Because it's probably gonna cost quite a bit to get all that crap off there, to be honest with you. The property is, on Adams, in Arizona. I highlighted the lot, that it's on. There's not a lot out there. There's a few places that are out there. I don't know, I think one that I looked at, well, there's one on each side of this piece of property. A place, they also look like RVs. There's another place that's right on the corner of Arizona and Adams, that there's multiple RVs, no stick-built homes, just multiple RVs, and fences made out of pallets. There's some other structures around the area. Some of them look abandoned. So I don't really know. I mean, they're valuing that property at 10 grand. I'm not sure we can sell it for that, especially with that stuff on it.
The market's crazy right now, but you never know. You can go to a title company and ask for a title search. They do not charge you anything for it. Here's your preliminary. It would tell us if there is anything that would bite us, and we could maybe revisit this at a later time and decide at that point what to do with it.
I'll check.
That might be the way to start anyway.
We do have a quick claim deed that was signed over from the Humane Society to Yucca dated 3/3/2017.
The problem with quitclaim deeds is that's all it does. It quits the claim of the previous owner. It doesn't mean that they actually have the right to sell the property or that they actually own the property at that point. I mean, it gets you in trouble without any more than that. They're legal by all means, but it does leave a situation that if they didn't have full rights to sell it, that could be a situation we would get bit. Like I said, I wouldn't want to get into the place where we was going to have somebody try to buy it, only to mess them around because we have a problem with the title. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we want to be honest if we're
yeah,
going to get rid of it.
if we know that we don't have a title problem right up front, then we can move forward with thinking about doing something with it, I think. Okay with that? Okay. Number E, discussion and possible action regarding review of Yucca Community Food Pantry Facility Use Agreement, possible cancellation or request to amendment to the agreement. I think we have. So the use agreement was entered into September 18th of 2020. I was part of the board at the time that happened. You were too.
Yes.
Yeah. So we made an agreement with them based on information we had for this agreement for a set amount of money. And it seems that we've come to the situation now that with the electric bill as it is and such, we, based on what we think the bill should be without the use of the freezers, the refrigerators, and such as that, that it's actually costing us money for the food bank to be here more so than what they're paying. Is that a fair assessment of our situation? Chief?
You know, right now, we've done everything we can to reduce the utility costs since we've been here. And even with minimum staffing that we have, it hasn't seemed to do a lot to the electric bill.
You go to this page in your packet.
It's in the package.
The,
It's in the financial packet.
Oh, fine. Thank you. I had it back in the late, shouldn't do that.
there's 19 months of data here for the electric bill. And the line that you see, the bold line, you don't have this
I
document?
saw, yes,
It's right
but I,
there.
yeah,
That's the document. The line that you see is when we went to minimum staffing and we went to being here 10 days a month. We've unplugged all copiers that are not being used. We've unplugged refrigerators, the mini refrigerators in the offices. We've turned down the heat, the air conditioning. We removed the Coke machine. I mean, we've done everything we can. And the electric is still, if you look, say at November, December, and compare it to last year, it's actually higher. So nothing we've done, even with less staffing, the electric bill is higher than a year ago. So that only leaves the refrigerators.
And it's comparatively considerably higher than your fire station in Golden Valley.
Well, what happened, they have different plans for businesses. You have a small business plan, you have the small general business, you have medium. Once you exceed 12,000 kilowatts per month for 2 consecutive months, you get bumped up to medium. And to get off of medium is very difficult. And you pay instead of $25 a month, you pay $100 a month, and then you have a demand fee. The demand fee is running $300 a month, so $100 fee plus the $300 demand, there's half of the electric bill.
Yeah.
So,
And that is the line that says demand charge. That's not for electric we actually use.
No,
That's
it's
just the
not.
charge that they're hitting us because
Yes.
we use too much.
it's because we've been moved up to a general
Yeah.
service. So I contacted Unisource. Seems that we do not have an account rep for this account, so nobody would talk to me. They said you have to send an email. So I sent them an email asking them to please review our account, because I'm looking at the kilowatts, and we have not gone over 12,000 kilowatts in the last 19 months. So I asked them if they would please review our account to see if they would move us back to the small business. And I got the email just today.
Okay.
They're going to do that. So that's going to save us a lot of money. But if we exceed 12,000 kilowatts in 2 consecutive months, we're back right where we started.
Which, I'm looking at this,
Is the
11,000
summer.
figures, yeah, August, September,
Mm-hmm.
those are the months that we hit that.
It's 12,000 kilowatts, but to get back under it, the number is very low. And they didn't give me the number, but it's very low. It's like 2,500 kilowatts for 2 consecutive months before they'll put you back down. And we haven't been able to hit that. They just were generous enough to
Drop it back.
drop us back down. So we're gonna see, it's gonna be another billing cycle before we reap that benefit. But right now, our last electric bill for this facility is $865.20 a month, which works out to $29.83 a day.
And is that, what month is that?
That's the most current,
I know last month that would
Yeah,
be.
this is from 3/31 to 4/29.
Okay. And
So-
this, on the paper we have here are these figures, like the May 21st one, that is May 21st to 2021. On this one?
Well, we pay in arrears, so that May 20th, if you're looking at May 20th,
Yeah.
that would be the reading date of the meter. It would be
Okay.
the prior 30 days before that.
Okay, so we're basically April and May, 4,000, 5,000 kilowatts, according to this totals.
Yes.
And we know that we ought to stay under 12,000 for sure. And we also know that last year, let's see, okay, in April and May of last year at 20, we were in the same place we are now, just about maybe a little bit more. So is it 5,040 instead of 49, and then was it 5,600 instead of 48, so we were slightly higher then. So we could obviously expect August and September to hit that $11,000 or $12,000 range again, even though we made arrangements and made changes, which were dangerously close to. Okay, so basically, they've agreed to drop it back. We need to figure out if there's anything we can do, I suppose, that we're not going to hit that 12,000 ever again, at least not twice, for sure. What suggestions do we have? Yeah, Terry.
I have a question. We had looked, because we only used the weekends on Fridays only, and for a while we were unplugging them at the end of the day and
Didn't make a
everything.
difference.
It didn't make a difference. That's what I was asking.
No.
It seemed like
And the board here, I have my members here, we're prepared to increase what we pay a month to help offset some of the electrical costs. So we're
Can we
going to.
condense down and not use,
Yeah,
can you get rid of all of them on the drive and just use the walk-ins?
That's the question.
Well, it would be easy if we were, like, if they could drive up on the side of the building. But to carry the products from the walk-ins to the car and have, staging boxes going that way, it's a little.
200 cars a day.
Yeah, we're averaging,
So that's why you're using the stuff in the bay.
yeah,
For
so that way
distance.
we can, for more convenience
Well,
for
then
the
what
staff.
if we didn't use the walk-ins and turn them off, or turn them down to refrigerators instead of
We lose our
freezers?
food.
We lose the food, we just walk into
Our-
that freezer every.
Our reach-ins won't hold everything.
Yeah. We already tried to maximize putting like 2 or 3 meats in a box to make sure that the quantities go out and that we are memming them. But we can't calculate that we have 250 people every week, and then we do have individuals that's like, I'm a vegan, I don't eat meat, so we take the meat back. Our only other option would be to contact another nonprofit agency at the end of the day and have them come and take our excess. And that could be done. There are some other,
So
like Set Free Ministry that feeds on us.
what we're doing here, what you're doing here, is you're basically having excess and you're storing it here
Yes, until the next Friday.
until the next Friday.
Yeah, because it's first in, first out.
Okay.
And if you were to look in there now, you could see this is about what we have. This last Friday, we had 205 households that we served. So we were able to get rid of that much. St. Mary's isn't always with the same amount.
Right.
Sometimes they give us a lot, sometimes they give us very little. So,
I think they're concerned about cutting the bill down.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
agree.
I mean,
with-
that's our,
Yeah.
we're absolutely a fixed income organization here. There is
Yeah, we
no
can
more
do-
coming.
We can see what we can do about emptying out the walk-ins. I don't know if turning off the electric power for the walk-ins, because they were saying that it costs more to start up the reach-ins. It would be
Oh, yeah,
the
to
same.
turn it back on.
Yeah.
But it still have to run.
So our solution would be to increase what we pay a month to help offset that.
Well, these refrigerators out in the bay, they used to belong to the fire department, they used to run constantly here as
Yeah.
well.
And then when they ran into the embezzlement, the church bought those for the pantry so that we can continue to use them.
How many
Fire
days a week,
department.
how many days a week is the fire
We
department
don't,
here?
yeah, we only,
There-
we only.
10
Well,
days.
we do have staff here, approximately 8 to 10
10 days a month.
And,
we're only four.
and the food pantry's here Friday, maybe about 8 hours
Yeah.
a day on Friday,
Has
so.
the utility bill dropped since they went on this, the light shift?
No,
No.
that's what we're getting at. It
I
hasn't
mean,
gone.
does the heat stay on, does the tools
No,
stay on?
no,
They were doing the same thing as the food pantry was. They were shutting the air conditioners and the heaters off at that demand to turn them back on when they came back here in the
Oh,
winter
yeah, it's high
time.
demand.
And
So
then,
there's
so we
There
something
left
should be a
one.
huge difference in price.
There's not.
I mean, you're talking like 30 days or 10 days.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we thought too. So, and I didn't realize that this fire department had all of those refrigerators and
On top of
Has
the 3
anybody
white ones.
requested an energy audit? For the fire department, and see where all the energy is going?
these are the numbers that we just recently run. I mean, we've kind of been keeping an eye on it just because we thought of it. It seemed high. I mean, it seemed high when the guys were out here 30 days a month. I mean, it just
We just
seemed
had
high,
service
but
on
we
those.
didn't know.
We just did service on those, and they didn't tell us if there was any excess,
Or you use them once a
that
week?
they were running too much or anything. We just went with the $300 some we just put into service on them.
I would think that would be one thing, is that they're clean and maintained.
Which we have a
Everybody wants
service
to save
contract.
energy. And then is there such a thing, if I don't know how much it is, like you were saying, 200 things, or this leftover. Is this leftover something to where there could be one,
It's not gonna change your
oh,
your
because
fuel
you have to fire
consumption.
that up
Yeah,
on
yeah, still
Friday
have
or
to run it.
Thursday?
So, well, I guess at the end, what we're saying is, even if you get rid of the excess, you're still gonna need the walk-in every Friday anyway. So it would have to be turned back on. We would lose everything we gained by the surge.
Yeah, it's better staying on.
Yes, it is, yeah, I can see that.
Plus, during the summer months, the firemen have always had stockpiled ice and froze water for heat casualties out on the road. And then, from what I understand, that they also had an agreement that if there was ever fatalities and they needed to, it would turn into morgues, or, temp
Yeah.
morgues. So they still needed them serviced or serviceable,
Right, they had to be workable,
yeah.
Okay.
Is there such a thing, my concern is that red line.
Yeah,
So is there a way that if we're nearing that, which I have no idea unless I guess we read the meter and find out where we are a week before, or on those high demand days when you're in and out of it, is there a separate power source, a generator or something, you know what I mean? Just that there's no way that we can go, you can't go to the $400 a month that's not even paying for electricity. You know what I mean? Even if it comes out of your pocket, that's still not obtaining our goal.
yeah, I understand that.
So our main goal of this is trying to cut the energy costs, not so much the rent portion, is that what's?
Well, we have to recoup our expenses at some point somehow and come across a little more even, I think. Cutting the energy costs would be good for everyone, including the food bank. Because if the energy goes down, then we lose the problem we have, but it doesn't sound to me like we have a lot of options here as far as allowing them to stay and use the facility and still cut the costs.
Yeah, and we're aggressively, working on our property,
Yeah.
so.
Are they on the same circuit, those refrigerators and freezers?
Well, at one point, they had them on the same circuit and it kept blowing a fuse. That was a year and a half ago, and that's when they decided the watt amperage or whatever it is on that thing, I'm not an electrician.
It depends on what it was for.
Yeah, but it was pulling way too much, so that's when they set them on two separate things. At one time, we did have them on separate walls, and, then they decided to do the exercise area, and they put us all on that one wall, and that's when we found that it was blowing the circuit. So,
Well, we're back on that same law again.
yeah,
both of them.
yeah, but what they did is they upgraded the breaker so that it could handle the load.
But it wouldn't have made any difference if they were on separate circuits anyways.
Yeah,
So, you started your statement with you as willing to up what you pay to help cover these costs. Well, what's your proposal? Do you have an amount? Do you have something in mind?
What would
well,
you guys-
that's what, we're here to work with you, you know.
Well, we have some new
appreciate it.
information today that she just gave us that we didn't have before
Yeah.
too, so, you know.
Yeah, so we will work with whatever, because the community needs that service, and so whatever it takes, if it means that we have to increase out of our budget, we will look for donors and pledgers to cover that. So we're
It's
just
gonna-
trying to find something that's equitable for
When's-
everybody.
It's gonna take 2 billing cycles before we know the true cost, because it was last read on 4/29, and, they agreed on May 14th to move us. So we're gonna have 15 days at the higher rate, then, we're gonna have one billing that's gonna be split between the 2 service rates.
Right.
And then it's gonna be another month before we get a full bill, so we see the effect.
Well, it's gonna take you into those high numbered months. August.
Yeah,
Yeah, August and,
and we
or
might get a true,
June, July, August, September is super danger zone.
Well, we keep the bay doors closed, all but the one partially up that the guy's running in and out of.
yeah, and
The
we need a
downside to it is-
thermostat at 84, so,
Once we hit that threshold,
yeah.
they're not gonna back, they did her a favor this time, they're not gonna back us down, we're gonna be at that $376+ a month for a long time if we hit that. At that point, Mindy, do you have a suggestion as to what we should ask them for to compensate? You have the financial end of it far better than we do.
We can see that the staffing is not making a difference.
Right.
So the electricity is coming from the appliances
Yes,
here.
absolutely.
You could come up with a percentage with a minimum of 250.
You're the financial gal, you come up with a percentage. I mean, you work that for us, have you
If-
tried to do that?
Just a suggestion. You
Yes.
say that they're gonna pay 50% of the bill with a minimum of $250 a month. So if we get this bill below $500 a month, they'll just pay their $250.
Right,
But if it starts creeping up, then they're going to pay.
that, what she said,
That sounds fair.
you doing that?
Bill only at 500, I can remember when it was 1,500 a month, and 1,800 a month.
We even bill
And
the fire department.
honestly, having-
Past due bill is
Well, this goes,
$795.
my records, I went back 19 months and there's nothing
I
there.
know, I wrote a check to pay the utility bill
Yeah,
because I gotta get
$795.
shut off.
Probably
It
2
might
months.
have been a couple of months,
It was 2
yeah,
months.
a couple of cycles.
No, monthly bills, back in the past, they were extensive.
Yeah,
But
well,
they
they
were
weren't
keeping
paying the
this-
bills on time either. What I was
Yeah.
finding, because I'm doing the books right
Yeah.
now, is they weren't paying the full bill, they were paying partial of the bill. So the next month it was,
Well
so
aware,
the
yeah.
highest amount on here in the last 19 months, dollar-wise, is $1,432 in September.
Which would That's put your us, hot, that would put us at 7 if we ever got into that circumstance with the higher rate.
But, the,
And of that $1,432, $502 was the demand charge, which basically is what, we didn't earn that, they just stuck us with it.
right, the demand charge will go away on the small business plan. Out of that 1,400, $502 was the demand charge. Plus, the $100 monthly fee will drop down to $25. So you take $502 plus $75 off of that 1,400. If we can maintain the small business plan.
I'm
What do
sorry,
you think, Kayla?
what he said about having the energy audit done is really something worth having done. When I lived in Florida,
Yeah, that's.
granted, FP&L is a nightmare down there, but I had an energy audit done and they showed me how to save almost $400 a month.
Well, that wouldn't be a bad idea if it doesn't cost us a huge
No, it's free.
It's free.
It's
It's
free.
free. The electric company would do it for us, but.
No, Unisource does it for free. All power all power companies do that.
They'd be able to tell you even if there's something that's running unknown that we don't know what
Yeah,
is going on.
residual.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
If there's a bleed out somewhere or something surging, they'll find it for
You
you.
know, at one time we were running 2 buildings here. And that's
We
where,
got shorted out wiring into the ground over there, so.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I know.
Running a decent.
Is that something that you could order then from Unisource?
That would be the fire department.
Yeah, that-
You'd have to order that.
Yeah, so at this point, let's direct the chief to order that energy audit.
Yes, I like that, and then, I believe that we should work with the
Depends on how much.
food pantry.
Excuse me.
What we can condense and what we can
50% of whatever they do.
cut off and not, so maybe we could revisit this again.
What about her offer of paying for the house?
Well, we would have to amend the contract
I
and,
would have to bring an amendment back.
yeah,
to
so
the
we would still
board.
have to do it in
The
30
next,
days. But since we don't know a percentage or anything
Yeah.
like that, I
Well,
would,
we're talking 50% above.
Yeah,
250.
we're
well, I would recommend that we work
amended
with
to
the,
agree for 50.
I would recommend that we would work with the food pantry, see what we could cut back and, do the audit and then see what the audit has to say as well.
That would be
And
good.
then come back in 30 days and reevaluate the situation.
Before
And we
it's
can
changed.
tentatively agree to do a 50% until the audit is done and the final decision is made. So if you're needing help with this month's electricity bill, we're prepared to write a check.
I brought a check.
The thing is, I wouldn't know what right now would then since we just took care of.
What was your bill this month, 7,
Almost
Well,
9?
it was,
892 or something.
well, that was for both locations, 865.20.
Okay, and I gave you 250, so whatever
What that
difference
difference
is, I can write you a check today for it.
That's up to the board,
How much was the bill?
865.
Advice from you, is there any ramifications if we take this money?
I wouldn't call it as part of the contract, we have to amend the contract.
I would consider it a donation
I
of
would
some sort.
consider it a donation at
That's what I was
this point
asking.
until we can evaluate anything
Is that
better.
okay?
And then that would be appropriated to the
Electric
bill.
Well, just put it into the
But
budget.
It
since
go into
we,
the budget, but it's gonna, in reality, pay the bill. If it goes into the budget, it's gonna pay the bill.
but so this would be the one-time donation from the Upper Food Pantry.
Right, but that's not part of this,
So we wouldn't, I don't even know if we'll be able to
No,
accept
we're-
that because it's not on the
no,
agenda.
that doesn't have to be accepted.
Okay, so that could be separate.
I mean, anybody can come in and make a
They just do that.
donation,
Okay,
so we need to stick to the agenda item.
right,
At this point, it sounds like we're looking at just the direction of staff
okay.
to direct
To
us.
do the audit.
Do the audit, and revisit this at the next meeting. You good with that?
We should have, the next bill by then.
Yes. Okay. We are to call the public.
Jerry? You want to call it, or what is it?
Anybody?
Call the
Listen,
public.
we're call the public. Anybody got anything? We won't answer you on anything you talk
Yeah,
about. but you can-
we understand that. And then again, I just wanna reiterate, whatever it takes, we fully support our fire department. This community needs this fire department, it needs to be operational, we understand the, costs and overhead versus revenues that are coming in. Just whatever we can do. So you have our support, and see if you can do an audit, if we can adjust our agreement with you, it's not a problem.
The main thing I think is,
You can't respond.
oh,
Yeah, I can't respond.
They can talk to us, they can't talk to them.
all right. No, I wasn't responding to that, I was just,
And you're
Okay.
welcome, also, we have our meeting the 3rd Thursday of every month at the church at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And any of the fire board members or anyone that has a concern, our full board's there to vote on any issues that we have. And so,
And you're more than welcome to do that.
Anybody else? And before we adjourn, I want to apologize for being late. As you can tell, I wasn't prepared to come here. So, that being said,
Are there gonna be a 30-day, after the audit, are they gonna come back on this, or the next meeting, or what?
We can't respond.
we can't respond to that.
From what they were saying, yes.
So,
I'm making a motion to adjourn this meeting at 5:14 PM on May 18th.
Second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Enjoy your nap.